One day I looked up and all the cool kids were wheeling around this hardshell luggage with fancy spinner wheels. I thought it was all a bunch of hoo-ha. I still kind of do. But I had to see what the fuss was about. In this video, I am diving deep into the pros and cons of hardshell versus soft-sided luggage. And spoiler alert, the outcome is not nearly as clear as I thought it would be. But if you are intent on choosing the right luggage for travel, then by the end of this episode, you'll be armed with everything you need to know to make the best decision for you. Let's do this. The easiest way to tackle this tricky debate is to compare hardshell versus soft-sided luggage on a category-by-category basis. We'll tally it all up at the end to see who wins. So let's start with weight. Regardless of whether you're traveling with carry-on luggage or checked luggage, the weight of your actual suitcase is a very important part of what are becoming more and more restrictive weight limitations when flying. In my episode about how to avoid carry-on baggage fees, a lot of commenters mentioned how airlines in places like Australia, parts of Asia, and even Europe will restrict carry-on luggage to just 7 kilos. And sometimes that's the maximum allowable weight for both your carry-on luggage and your personal item. So it stands to reason that the lighter your actual luggage is, the easier a time you will have of packing it and staying within weight limitations. Though, as an aside, if I'm up against a 7-kilo limit for all of my carry-on items, I'll just check my carry-on luggage and I will bring my personal item bag on board as my carry-on luggage. If you're interested in knowing exactly what I pack into my personal item bag, I'll drop a link in the description. While there is a common belief that hardshell luggage is more lightweight than softshell luggage, from what I can tell, it's about the same. This hardshell carry-on case weighs 7.7 pounds, which is about 3.5 kilograms. One of the most popular carry-on hardshell cases made by Away weighs 7 pounds. This soft-sided carry-on case weighs just 5 pounds, so it's definitely lighter than this. But my old soft-sided carry-on case, which was a little bit larger and comparable to this in terms of capacity, weighed the exact same 7.7 pounds as this. So, frankly, no clear winner in the weight department. Next up, durability. Hardshell luggage is typically made from polycarbonate or ABS plastic or aluminum, while soft-side luggage is made from materials like ballistic nylon or polyester. Quite frankly, both have been designed to withstand the rigors of travel. If anything, in my experience, hardshell luggage is more likely to be scratched and dented and will start showing signs of wear more quickly than softshell luggage. That's why it's important, if you are looking for hardshell luggage, to look for a finish like this one that is scratch resistant. Glossy hardshell luggage is more likely to show all of those scratches right away. The other aspect of durability to look at in terms of construction is around the bottom at the back. If you are wheeling your luggage along the street and you bring it up over a curb, over a few stairs, or depending on how the wheels on the back are constructed, your actual luggage is going to end up taking the brunt of the corner of the curb. So regardless of the type of luggage you're looking at, soft or hard, if there are protective rails or a kick plate around this area of the case, it will be more durable. So, as far as I'm concerned, there's still no clear winner in the durability department either. A lot of it boils down to the construction and design of the particular case. Okay, we need some wins here, so let's talk about protection. It's well known that hardshell luggage will protect your belongings considerably more than softshell luggage. Now, I can argue this point a little bit in that if you don't completely fill your hardshell luggage, the contents may move around more so than in softshell luggage, which has the ability to compress and cinch down to hold your contents together a little bit better. That said, most people fill their luggage to capacity anyway, so this isn't really an issue. What is an issue, however, is weather. And there's no getting around the fact that softshell luggage is more susceptible to damage from rain, snow, or other wet conditions, since the material may absorb moisture, which could potentially cause problems with mold and mildew if it doesn't dry out properly. And of course, your stuff inside could get wet too. Softshell luggage may be water resistant, but it's rarely, if ever, as protective against the elements as hardshell luggage would be. So, hardshell luggage pulls ahead in the protection department. Hard-sided luggage is also a runaway winner in the maintenance and cleaning department. The smoother surface of the hardshell luggage makes it easy to wipe the outside clean. And if you're wheeling your luggage along a dirt road after a rainstorm, this could become pretty important. In terms of keeping the inside of your luggage clean, I think it's about the same, since most luggage these days has a lining that would be equally easy to maintain and clean. But as far as the outside is concerned, hardshell for the win. Next up, security. Many hardshell cases come with built-in TSA-approved locks, with the premise that this adds an extra layer of security for your belongings. But I don't buy it, because most luggage these days, regardless of whether they have built-in locking mechanisms or not, have lockable zippers. So either way, you can lock your stuff up. However, there is no arguing the fact that the rigid structure of the hard-sided luggage will make it more difficult for the bad guys to cut through or tamper with it. That said, it all boils down to the zippers, which are equally vulnerable regardless of the kind of luggage you have. And if you have expandable hard-sided luggage, then even if the bad guys can't cut through the exterior, they could slice through the expanded fabric like it's butter. So while most people would argue that hardshell luggage is inherently more secure, I will beg to differ, and I say it boils down to the manufacturer and the degree to which they've incorporated tamper-proof zippers and other security features into their luggage. So I may get some backlash about this in the comments, but I'm gonna call this one a draw. All right, surely in the mobility department, hardshell suitcases are runaway winners with their fancy spinner wheels, right? I'm not gonna lie. When I am in an airport on a nice, smooth, hard-surfaced floor, rolling around my hard-sided suitcase with spinner wheels is a dream. But in real life, as in just about everywhere outside of the airport, more often than not, I'm rolling it along on two wheels. Sidewalks, cobblestones, roads with streetcar or train tracks, anything that isn't completely smooth is not super practical for spinner wheels, which is where two-wheeled soft-sided suitcases shine. These wheels are usually made of some kind of rubber or similar material that absorbs impacts and rolls quietly. I remember one fateful morning with this exact case where I had to leave my accommodation at 4 a.m. to catch an early morning flight. I had a 10-minute walk to the bus stop on cobblestone streets, and I could not believe how noisy these wheels were. Frankly, I was embarrassed to be making so much noise, and if I could have carried the bloody thing, I would have. This case not only would have been considerably quieter in those circumstances, but this particular soft-sided case has removable backpack straps in this pocket that would actually have allowed me to strap it on and carry it to the bus if I wanted to. Now, not all soft-sided suitcases have this option, of course, but 0 hardshell suitcases do, as far as I know. Also, while the wheels on this hard case have taken more than a few beatings so far on the trips that I've taken it on, for some reason they just don't feel as durable to me as these wheels do, which are partially embedded in the case, making them more protected. That said, some hardshell cases have wheels that are a bit more embedded, and I highly recommend looking for those kinds of wheels if you're going to get a hardshell case. So again, this may not be a popular decision, and don't get me wrong, I love spinner wheels. But from a practical standpoint, soft-sided cases eke out the win in the mobility department. Next up, flexibility. If you pick up a few things during your travels and you have hard-sided luggage, there isn't really any give in terms of the amount of space you have. That said, you can sit on it to get it closed, which is something you can't really do with a soft-sided case. On the other hand, by its very nature, soft-sided luggage has a bit more flexibility if you overpack. But even more importantly, it also has more flexibility to fit into tight spaces. More than once, I found myself on airplanes with smaller overhead bins, and my soft-sided luggage has been a real tight fit. But because it was soft-sided, I could get it in. If it were hard-sided luggage, I might have been straight up out of luck. Soft-sided for the win here. All right, this next one is super important, and I can get a bit worked up about it because I don't understand why people who prefer hard-sided luggage put up with it. Accessibility, as in how to access the contents of your luggage. In order to access the contents of hard-sided luggage, even if all I need is just to pull like a sweater out of my bag in preparation for my flight, I have to lay the whole thing down. Then I have to unzip the whole thing all the way around. And then I have to flip the entire case open, which unto itself is awkward and weird. This is totally annoying, no matter how you slice it. In an airport, this means you've got to find a space on the floor to do all of this while also letting the world around you know the intimate details of everything you've got packed. And that's an ideal situation. What if you're outside somewhere and there's bad weather, or the floor or the ground is dirty? There is no easy access to hard-sided luggage. At your hotel, it's equally annoying. If you're in a super small room, as is pretty common in Europe, or if you're taking a cruise, there may not even be enough space on the floor to fully open up your luggage. And the luggage stand isn't usually big enough to open your luggage like this. It might be big enough if you have hard-sided carry-on luggage like this, but if you travel with hard-sided check luggage, you are probably going to be straight up out of luck. This is so not a problem with soft-sided luggage. With it standing up, you can open up the zipper and stick your hand in and grab an item or two if you need it. And if you need to lay it down and open the whole thing up this way, it still only takes up half the footprint of its hard-sided counterpart flipped open. Some people don't like the fact that the single compartment of soft-sided luggage is a bit more cavernous and might require you to organize your stuff differently. But I've always found it to be an advantage rather than a disadvantage. As an example, because each side of hard-sided luggage is much more shallow, I don't have the same flexibility to pack things horizontally or vertically as I do with one larger compartment. I think you know where I'm going with this one. For accessibility, soft-sided wins. One last item for the scorecard before I share 2 bonus tips that could make or break your luggage experience. Storage. If you don't have a lot of space in your home or your accommodation to store your luggage when it's not in use, this may be important to you. Hardshell suitcases have zero flexibility. They unapologetically take up the space that they take up, and that is that. Soft-sided luggage tends to be a lot more flexible, compressible, or collapsible. In fact, this particular soft-sided luggage actually has an additional feature that allows it to collapse pretty much flat for easy storage. All right, I have 2 additional things to consider that aren't going on the final scorecard because they're a bit subjective and will depend on the make and model of your luggage. But they are definite criteria for choosing what luggage you need. The first one is a deal breaker for me. Outside pockets. As in, most hardshell cases don't have them. And that's a deal breaker, at least for carry-on luggage it is. I want to be able to easily access a few things in my carry-on case without having to do the whole rigmarole of laying it down and opening the whole bloody thing up. Now, this case makes that possible, which means it's not a total deal breaker. It has this outside pocket here. While this particular outside pocket has space for a laptop, I tend to keep my laptop in my personal item bag because I feel it's a bit more secure since I always have bodily contact with my personal item bag. So into this pocket, I tend to keep my liquids for airport security, an extra layer like a sweater or scarf, and maybe a snack. Anything really that I just might need access to on my travel day. Soft-sided cases almost always, by the way, have smaller outside pockets. This particular one has one here and here. I'm just saying. Last up, and super important, deciding between hardshell versus softshell when choosing the right luggage for travel will depend on whether you travel with checked luggage or carry-on luggage. If you're traveling with checked luggage, for example, you might appreciate the additional durability of hardshell to protect your stuff while it's piled up in the cargo hold and getting tossed around by baggage handlers. You might also find the spinner wheels will make it a bit easier to maneuver a bit heavier, larger case, as would be with checked luggage, throughout airports and places with smooth, flat surfaces. And things like accessibility and availability of outside pockets might not be quite as important since you won't have it with you while it's checked. Having said that, access to the contents of a hard-sided suitcase is even more cumbersome when it's checked size. I watched a friend of mine awkwardly try to open up and access his large, hard-sided suitcase in a room that was way too small. Because you have to lift an entire half of the suitcase up and flip it over to open the case, it was way too heavy. Let's just say it wasn't graceful. If instead you're traveling with carry-on luggage, something I haven't mentioned thus far is that spinner wheels are counted as part of the overall dimensions of the case, but they eat up what could be incredibly valuable packing space. So if you have soft-sided carry-on luggage, you're likely going to get a few more liters of capacity in which to put your stuff. And that could make a big difference on the road. So where are we at with the scorecard? Hard-sided luggage wins in the categories of protection and ease of keeping it clean. They're neck and neck in the categories of weight, durability, and security. Soft-sided wins in the categories of mobility, flexibility, accessibility, and storage. But if you haven't already figured it out, I think Softshell is the best luggage for travel overall. So of course, this video may be a wee bit biased. But I know there's a lot of you out there who prefer hard-sided luggage, so I invite you to share in the comments why you think it might be better than soft-sided luggage. And of course, if you are also on Team Softshell like me, please join in the conversation in the comments and stand up for your side. By the way, if you're interested in either of these particular cases, I'll include more information about them in the description, along with links to purchase them and my top recommendations for both hardshell luggage and softshell luggage in checked and carry-on sizes. I'm Nora Dunn, aka the Professional Hobo, and I'll catch you next time.